Doctor Who, The Dalek Invasion of Earth, the 10th story of the first Doctor, is written by Terry Nation and starring William Hartnell, William Russell, Jacqueline Hill and Carol Ann Ford. So back in March 1964, David Whittaker wanted Terry Nation to write a Season 2 story after the success of the Dalek story from Season 1 and The Keys of Marinus. So the title was going to be Doctor Who and the Daleks, but then Terry came up with a story, The Return of the Daleks, but then got changed into The Daleks in Europe and then Dalek Invasion of Earth. So the models of the Daleks were refurbished for the story, adding new eye stalks, a dish receptor, improved bases for movement, and a new pedal mechanism. Also, on 12th of March 1964, trade paper Television Today revealed that Carol Ann Ford would be leaving Doctor Who because of her dissatisfaction with the character's development. So David Whittaker wanted a strong reason for Susan leaving the TARDIS, so Donald Baverstock, at the time who was the controller of programs, delayed a new cast member to replace Susan. Was going to be Jenny, originally known as Sada, but I don't think Ann Davis was offered to be regular for Season 2. Carol Ann Ford and William Hartnell were invited to stay with Terry Nation and his wife for a weekend, which is nice. So Episode 1, World's End, it starts off with a Roboman walking into River Thames at Riverside in London in the year 2150, or 2050 if you want to call it that. So the Doctor, Susan, Barbara and Ian arrived. As much as Ian and Barbara are happy to be back home, everything's quiet, and the Doctor is thinking that they're nowhere near 1960s. So Susan climbed on the wall to have a look, but she falls, causing straps to fall on the TARDIS and broken her ankle. I love the Doctor's line when he said that Susan could do with a smack backside. While Barbara stays to look after Susan, the Doctor and Ian looks around in the warehouse. Barbara sees Susan missing, but a guy, insurgent, told her that the area is unsafe, so she followed him to London Underground Station, where Susan was taken by Carl Tyler. David Campbell walks in and says that he had a struggle with a Roboman, and that they will have to tell Dortmund to change the storehouse. He also saw the Doctor and Ian in the warehouse but thought they were enemies. So meanwhile, the Doctor and Ian sees a Battersea power station and the chimneys were damaged. The calendar with the year 2164 is discovered, so they realise they're somewhere in 22nd century. After the Doctor and Ian saw a corpse of Roboman, they see a flying saucer arrive, and I love the sound effects. A lot of science fiction sound effects are great. I always love listening to those sound effects. As the Doctor and Ian saw a big sign saying it's forbidden to dump bodies in the river, they mentioned the bacteria in it, so then they got surrounded by Roboman and a Dalek rising out of the water, which is pretty effective. So as the Doctor and Ian tried to make a run for it, they saw a Dalek. Fantastic entrance. I can see why people are scared of them, and ended up behind the sofa. So in episode 2, the Daleks, a Dalek asked Roboman why the humans are close to the river and the area is unguarded, but Roboman can't give any answers. I love how the Doctor was being rebellious and when he's like, die? And just who are you to condemn us to death? And a Dalek ordered the Doctor and Ian to be taken to landing area. So a Dalek made a propaganda broadcast ordering survivors of London to surrender or die, which is scary. So while a woman called Jenny examines Susan's ankle, Barbara prepares the food. Carl Tyler and Dortmund plan to attack the Dalek saucer, and David came back revealing that the Doctor and Ian were captured. And he also mentions that any humans go inside the Dalek's spaceship, they never come back out. So Barbara suggests using Roboman helmet as a disguise. Meanwhile, as the Doctor and Ian are taken to landing area, they're confused because their defeated Daleks on Skara are not moving on metal. As they're joined with other two prisoners, one of them tries to escape but gets exterminated. And then the Doctor, Ian and another prisoner, Jack Craddock, are put in a cell and he tells them about Dalek invasion. Apparently 10 years before, meteorites brought a plague to Earth, splitting the Earth into small communities. 6 months later, the Dalek saucers landed. Some humans were turned into Robomen, others were destroyed or sent to mining areas in Bedfordshire. So the Doctor releases the key and reverses the polarity of the force field around the door, and the cell door is open. But then they're recaptured, so Ian and Craddock are sent back in the cell, and because the Doctor is considered to be more clever than humans, he gets taken to transfer table to be robotised. As the fake Roboman gets questioned, Barbara, David and Susan threw a bomb at the Daleks, so the Doctor and the machine leads to Episode 3, Day of Reckoning. A lot of people attacked Robomen, the Doctor is set free and escapes from Dalek Saucer, and a lot of people ended up getting separated. The attack scene is nicely done. So Saucer Commander Dalek ordered the Daleks to kill all survivors. So while Barbara plans to find her friends, Ian and a prisoner called Larry Madison struggles with robotised Craddock and stopped him, so he went back into his hiding place with Larry. Meanwhile, Susan and David hide, and hearing someone get exterminated, Susan wishes to get back to the TARDIS and getting away, but David said running away doesn't solve anything and it's his planet, and we learned that Susan couldn't find any place where she can belong to, which is a great development for the character. So then Baker brought the Doctor to Susan and David, who seemed unwell, not long before Baker got exterminated, and we get a fantastic iconic scene where Barbara, Jenny and Dortmund sneaking past the Daleks in a deserted London. It's really well done for a low budget series, the design and everything. I do love the bongos strumming music over it as well, it really fits in. So Barbara, Jenny and Dortmund have made it to the museum making tea. Dortmund comes up with a new formula for the acid bomb. Barbara tells him about the Doctor. As she left the room, Dortmund wrote a note and did something stupid by going outside and trying new bombs against the Daleks as he stands up from his wheelchair, but the Daleks exterminated him and the bomb fails. So Barbara and Jenny takes cover, and the funny bit is where the Dalek is talking to a headless dummy. It's hilarious. So then it went away while the Doctor is recovering, and he realises that Susan trusts David over the Doctor because the Doctor suggests going back to the TARDIS, but David knows his time better. However, as David returns, the Doctor advises to go north, which makes Susan happy. Larry tells Ian about his brother Phil has a theory that the Daleks are mining to extract magnetic core of Earth, so they left and got out to the nearest chute. So two Robomen placed a firebomb near the Doctor, Susan and David, and it makes a ticking noise. The casts did a great job with their role. William Hartnell again, brilliant as the first Doctor. I do love Carol Ann Ford, William Russell and Jacqueline Hill as Susan, Ian and Barbara. David Campbell was a freedom fighter on Earth. His chemistry with Susan has handled well, and I think Peter Fraser did a great job. Bernard Kay played Carl Taylor, who's another freedom fighter on Earth during the Dalek Invasion. Alan Judd, who played Dortmund, was the leader of a group of freedom fighters who often creates bombs against the Daleks and eventually gets exterminated. Anne Davis played Jenny Chaplin, who's a rebel during the Daleks invasion. Michael Goldie played Jack Craddock, a survivor but then became a Roboman, and after a brief fight with Ian and Carl, he was electrocuted and killed. The music by Francis Chagrin is fantastic. The first 3 episodes was recorded at Maida Vale Studios on 10th of September 1964, and the final 3 episodes was recorded by 5 musicians on 8th of October. The sets and effects are nicely done. Robomen were humans but got converted into a robot by a Dalek, and I think they're pretty cool. They should bring them back. Again, I love the Daleks design and the Supreme Controller. I thought it's pretty cool. So episode 4, The End of Tomorrow, apparently William Hartnell's back was injured when a prop ramp malfunctioned, so the director Richard Martin apologised for the incident and said Hartnell would be fine, but Verity Lambert said he should rest for several days. So after talking to Hartnell's solicitor and the BBC denied liability and paid for an X-ray, so William Hartnell had a week off to recover. So part 4 needed a bit of a rewrite for Edmund Warwick to play his stunt double, who later played the Doctor's robot in The Chase. So the Doctor passed out, leaving Susan and David defusing the bomb. So after they decided to ditch the Doctor as they assumed that he'll be safe, so Ian and Larry spotted slaves pulling the carriages through the mine and met a guy called Ashton and a Roboman as he attempted to take them to be robotized as he attacked Wells. Ian and Larry knocked a Roboman out. While Barbara and Jenny drove off in a lorry, it was pretty gangster when they crashed through the Daleks. But then the saucer came, so Barbara and Jenny got out and blew up the lorry. While Susan and David are in the sewer, they found bullets and suspected that someone could be down there. It was Tyler, and he wasn't shooting at a person, it was alligators that escaped from the zoo. David suggested that they can rebuild London and Susan can be part of it. And she likes the idea, so they went to find Tyler, and the bit where Susan is on the ladder and it broke and just about to fall into the alligator was pretty intense. But luckily she's been rescued, and David shoots at the alligator. Tyler has found the Doctor, so they went back out the sewer. So while Ian and the other three men were eating, they encounter a creature as Larry and Ian went outside. Another of these creatures went after them called Slither, and other creatures from Skaro. They were occasionally utilised by the Daleks to act as guards at their installations. Love to see more of that on screen, as I think they're pretty cool. Episode 5, The Walking Alley. So Ian hits a Slither with a rock and caused it to fall to its death. So Ian and Larry went down the well to go down to the mine, and as they kind of reached the bottom, well, 12 feet away, Ian and Larry jumped and landed on the track, which knacks Larry's knee, and he repeats his brother's theory about Daleks after the Earth's core. So Larry's brother came as he became a Roboman and gets him to remember who he is. We get a sad scene where both Larry and his brother Phil died. So Barbara and Jenny went into the house at the woods with two women to be safe for now. So a mother whispered her daughter about something, so she goes outside and came back with the Daleks and the food. Evil. Then ended up became slaves at the mine, and Ian reunites. The Doctor joins Susan, David and Tyler in the sewers, and we get a cool fight scene with two Robomen. So then Susan sits around at the campfire. Her and David have a bit of a wrestle playing with a dead fish and flirt and about to kiss, but then the Doctor and Tyler came. He realises about the Daleks' plan. Barbara plans to get to the Dalek control room. So later on, Ian uses a small shell and gets sealed up and moved towards the drop zone. Pretty intense. Episode 6, Flashpoint. So Ian disconnects the wire and got out, and the Daleks spotted him while Robomen were pulling the ropes. Dalek broke the rope and Ian fell down to the bottom pit where the door is. So Barbara and Jenny are in the Dalek control room. Dalek goes on the radio, but the Dalek stopped her and tied up. So eventually the Doctor, Susan, David and Tyler went in the control room. As the Doctor tries to use the Dalek's scanner, Daleks sense the interference with their machinery and went towards the Doctor and got up in flames. So Barbara pretends to be a Dalek on radio and orders Robomen to destroy all the Daleks. And I think Jacqueline Hill did a good impression there. Ian reunites and we have an epic scene where Robomen took on the Daleks and everyone's free. So in the end, the Doctor, Susan, Ian and Barbara, David and Tyler arrived at Riverside helping clearing the TARDIS, so Tyler left, and we get a nice sound of Big Ben chimes. The Doctor, Barbara and Ian went back in the TARDIS. Susan was about to say goodbye to David, but David wanted her to stay. But then the Doctor locked Susan out and told her that she will always be the Doctor's granddaughter, and wanted her to stay with David and letting it be her home. He does an iconic line where he says, "One day I shall be back."
One day I shall come back. Yes, I shall come back. Until then...
And so on. So he says goodbye to Susan and disappeared off. Susan drops the TARDIS key. It's such a sad scene. But at least Susan has a place to stay and the music at the end fits in well. And that's the episode. We also have Dalek Invasion of Earth, 2150 AD movie based off the story, with Peter Cushing and Roberta Tovey returned as Doctor Who and Susan, but Ian and Barbara were replaced by Tom Campbell and Louise, played by Bernard Cribbins and Jill Curzon. Great movie. It's strange to see Bernard Cribbins in this, where he plays the young policeman, as we all know him as Wilfred Mott Donna Noble's granddad. Amicus bought an option to make 3 Dalek stories, as the third was going to be The Chase but got cancelled because of the poor box office. The whole thing has been hard because Peter Cushing was ill and some parts of scripts had to be rewritten. There's a lot of accidents during the filming. A Dalek prop was caught on fire when filming of Rebels storming the Dalek spaceship. Eddie Powell, a stunt, broke his ankle where his character was trying to escape but killed by the Daleks. And Andrew Keir hurt his wrist filming punching through a van windscreen. Daleks were kind of similar to the original television series version, but 3 leaders were painted red, black and gold. And some of them have claw and some of them have plunger, which I think it's a cool design as well. An article about the 2 Dalek films appeared in Doctor Who Monthly back in January 1984, which includes production, information, photographs and interviews, and another article about the films are in the 1995 spring special edition of Doctor Who magazine. Like I said, there's a 1995 direct-to-video documentary, Dalek Mania, where they talk about the productions, spin-offs and publicity campaigns. So, what did you guys think of the Dalek Invasion of Earth? Let me know what you think on the comments down below. I really love the story, well written, well directed, well acted, and the music is fantastic. As always, thanks for watching and see you in the next video.